Hey friends, welcome into Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. Alongside Darian Jenkins, Aaron West, I'm Aly Trost-Martin, filling in for our good friend Lisa Carlin, who is gallivanting across Ireland at the moment. Very jealous. Hope she has a drink on all of us. And it's been a fun little morning getting ready for the show with you guys. Aaron, I work with you all the time. Darian, we've gotten to work together a lot more as of late. And in prepping for the show, we were also trying out some accents, some different languages. Oh, no. I've got a lot to learn, that's what I'll tell you. I took so much Spanish in college, and unfortunately, very little really resonated with me. I'm like, rojo, azul.
You know your Spanish.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Don't put me to the test right now, though.
I was like, I'm not going to do that to you.
Because the Euros are also going on at the moment. It was a busy weekend across football in the women's game, the men's game, Euro 2024 underway. I know you were watching and enjoying, and Romania, they got a big win today, which then opened the door to a fun little bit of insight into Darian Jenkins.
Oh, boy.
Who took some Romanian.
I took a summer of Romanian in college to check off a credit and remember about 2 sentences in Romanian. Don't ask me to say it.
I was going to say, you can tell the people what your sentences are. I love that.
Fun fact.
All right. I don't know any Romanian. I just have accents. Maybe they'll come out. We'll
see. Wait and see, folks. We've got a long way to go, and that's my goal today, is to pull that one out of Aaron. But we've got some big news to start with out of the women's game and in the NWSL, because the Seattle Reign, at long last, the finalization of the ownership deal has come through. OL, who bought the club in 2019 for $3.5 million, has sold 100% of its shares to an ownership group comprised of Carlyle Investment Group and MLS franchise Seattle Sounders. The deal is reported to be for $58 million. So talk about stock way up for Seattle. And Darian, you played for this organization. How much does this help bring stabilization to this club?
Well, one, it brings a ton of it from the player's perspective, knowing that you were with an ownership group that values you, that actually wants to put the dollar behind what the potential is that this club could be. I mean, it going from just under $4 million to what it's at now is insane. I wish I had the funds to invest in an NWSL team, because I'd be rich at this point. But I think it's great for the stability looking forward, because clearly they don't have the same solid team they had last year or years prior. I think because there was that ownership stability and that funding behind, who we can acquire, where we can make moves. So now looking at this team, if you're a player that's wanting to come to the NWSL, Seattle is a prime location to live in, to play out. You have a great coach, you have a great environment. I mean, look at the scenes from the stadium. But knowing that there's solid backing from you financially, where you're going to be set up, you can trust where the club is going, that they have a good direction for you, is going to be really good for them in the future and acquiring even more players to come and be a part of this organization.
And that synergy now between the Sounders and between Seattle Reign, it is such an incredible market. I had the opportunity to go cover quite a few games out there, and I've really never seen many atmospheres like that. The Pacific Northwest is just ripe with a lot of passionate soccer fans. This, Aaron, can only help both clubs, really.
Yeah, and the ownership have talked about that synergy between the clubs. The Sounders already have a deep foothold in the community. Yeah. Seattle, like you mentioned, is a huge soccer town. My wife has had the benefit and privilege of playing in that town. I know the love that they have for their football. They're so passionate about it. They truly care about men's and women's football. So to be able to share resources, to help build that community connection, to be able to have the facilities sharing, to everything that can come with having an established club and building from there on the women's side, I think is going to be massive for Seattle.
And also, Lumen Field, despite being in a football stadium, when that lower bowl is packed, it is one of the most intimidating and loud environments in all of soccer here, whether it's the men or the women playing there. So huge for Seattle. And also, given how many question marks there were this offseason, this will give the team some opportunity after what's been a really slow start to the season for Seattle, very uncharacteristic, a chance to really get things right going into next season, knowing what they have to work with now. Lots more to get to across the world of football, and we've got some player movement that we need to update you on. So we're going to start with a move happening out of Wolfsburg, and this one is for forward Lenneth Berenstein, who has signed for the club. Berenstein spent the last 2 seasons with City outside Juventus, where she won a Coppa Italia and Supercoppa Femminile title. And that is not the only player that is on the move. In more transfer news, Polish international Eva Pajor has signed a 3-year deal with Barcelona. Pajor spent 9 seasons with Wolfsburg, scoring 136 goals in 196 appearances, and this past season, she notched 18 goals in 19 matches, winning the Frauen-Bundesliga Golden Boot. So a couple of players that are making their way. Darian, what's your reaction to this move? These moves, rather.
I'm a big fan of Bjornstein. I think she, especially in the World Cup, showed how effective she can be when she is on and she's able to put away her chances, because her speed, her technical ability, her tactical awareness puts her in such good situations. I think this is a really good addition for Wolfsburg. I mean, her and Svendis Jondesdotter up top is going to be a scary duo to play against, but I wouldn't be surprised to see more moves from Wolfsburg. I mean, they're losing Pajor, Oberdorf. Those are some big hitters in the middle of the park that bring a lot of the attack and defensive awareness to this team. So I think I'm interested to see what they're going to do moving forward, with transfers, and hopefully they can acquire some more players. But at least in the attack, I think this is a really good move for Bjornstein's career. I think the style of Wolfsburg suits her a little bit more. And I'm excited to see Pajor at Barcelona. Yeah. That's going to be interesting to see how she fits into that lineup, because they are stacked.
Yeah. Aaron, a player in and a player out. So we'll see what the state of this Wolfsburg team is now as they look to add some pieces moving forward. And we've also got an update for you, and it is very illuminating on the state of the women's game at the moment. It was a study by FIFPro, and it has brought more light to the struggles that are currently going on right now across the women's game and some of the things that they're dealing with as far as it relates to payment and other things like that. I mean, some of these numbers are really jarring. 73.9%, so 74% earn less than $19,000 a year. And I'll be honest, when I saw that, I was very surprised, because I think a lot of the conversation here stateside has just been about the continued growth of the women's game, the improvements in pay, even though it's still not where it could be. It is grown leaps and bounds. Darian, I know you know that better than anybody. Yeah. But when we look at it in the context of the entire world, not just here in the United States, which is one of the best and most progressive leagues for the women's game, what does that tell you about the growth that still needs to happen and the progress that's still to be made?
I mean, can you imagine if this type of study came out on the men's side? It would be up in arms. This is still relatively quiet news in the world of football, honestly. And it's sad. It shows how far we have to go. Yes, in the U.S. in particular, we've come a really long way. We have a CBA. We have players who I was a part of that did no more side hustles, where we openly talked about our salaries before it was open, and how, at least in my playing career, for 4 out of the 6 years, I had to have multiple jobs to supplement myself throughout my playing time. So it's really sad that we're still at this point, especially on a global level. This is the world sport. There's so many eyes on women's soccer. Where it's growing at an exponential rate. We just talked about a team being worth $4 million, selling for $58 million. I mean, come on. That money has to be funneled back into the players, and I hope that all eyes are on that, and hopefully we can bring this level up. I mean, 73% making below 19,000 USD is pretty insane. You can't live off of that as a professional athlete.
Especially,
there's so much further to go.
And this study, by the way, surveyed 736 footballers across 12 countries. So a good look, Aaron. And it begs the question of what can be done to help close that gap. And there was a really good example of what the Danish men's football team did. What was that all about?
Yeah, I think so. Overall, I think it's been really illuminated to see how far the women's game has come, but how far we still have to go. Like, the ceiling has been raised a lot, but the floor has so much further to come up. The Danish men's team is really, really interesting, because they are now focused on working on bringing the women's side up to the men's standards. They signed a new 4-year agreement with the Danish Football Association that will come into effect after Euros. And instead of choosing to demand changes for the men's side, they focused on improving the women's side. So the plan includes the men's players refusing a pay raise. Women's and men's national teams players will receive the same basic remuneration, same salaries. Insurance coverage is upgraded for the women's teams, plus 50%, plus 40% for the men's teams, funded by a 15% decrease in the men's insurance. So bringing all tides, raising all boats. The players and the DBU will jointly create a clubhouse for all the national teams, the men's teams, the women's teams, and the youth, and a development fund that is paid for by the men's team 50% and 50% by the Danish overall footballing association. So they have made a strong commitment on the men's side to refuse to continue to expand the gap and rather bring the women's side up. And I think it's such a strong statement and incredible work from the Danish association on both sides.
And just one strong example of one of the ways in which these teams, whether it's at the club level or at the international level, which is the example that you just shared, can do that. But either way, a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to be done, yeah.
We are just getting things started here on Attacking Third. When we come back, we are going to recap a very busy weekend across the NWSL. Don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax. Here's a look at the NWSL weekend results. Something you might notice, not a great weekend for the home teams. Not a single home team got a dub this weekend in the NWSL. The Road Warriors. Take a look at all of these. We're going to break them all down. KC Current in first place, but drew 2-2 thanks to a late equalizer from the Red Stars. Gotham get a big 2-0 win on the road at Racing Louisville. Scoreless draw in the North Carolina-Orlando game, as well as Seattle Reign and Portland Thorns. Houston-Angel City. Not a good weekend for goals, folks. That's for sure. Let's dig into it, and let's start with this Gotham and Louisville game. A game where there were goals, and multiple of them for this Gotham side.
Finally.
Who, in their last 4 games, all wins, have scored at least 2 goals. And Ella Stevens, Darian, is just having herself a time. She's got 5 goals in the last 5 games for Gotham. What's going on? What's she having for breakfast? Has she changed her pregame routine?
I know. What's your routine? Because I need that. No, she has been fantastic for Gotham. I think she's fit in seamlessly. Obviously, a big question mark for us when, they made all of these acquirements of the national team players. How does everyone else fit into this lineup? How is there room for all of these other players? She's been very patient, in my opinion, and has adapted really well to where she's needed, which she plays this kind of false 9. I don't know. I think in the last game they tried to play long balls to her. Speed isn't her number one strength, in my opinion. After watching that game, I was like, wow, she should drop a little bit lower. She's super technical. She has great vision. She should be on the ball a little bit more. Saw her adapt to that in this last game, and she was so effective. And her ability to finish difficult finishes has been really fun to watch. I mean, a volley falling down off balance to the far post, and then her celebration, like, let's calm down. She's swaggy. She's having fun. I think she's been a really, really good addition to Gotham, and I just love how she plays because I think she brings a lot of glue to kind of a, offense that we've seen more individualistic that hasn't come together in goals, and she's providing the goals.
Aaron, defense was a strength of this Gotham team early on, but one of the narratives as the season progressed was they can't score multiple goals in a game. Well, they've done it the last 4 games, and they've gotten wins in all of those games. What's been the biggest change that you've seen from this side in those last 4 big dubs?
Yeah. I think a big focus for this team is the defensive solidity and that organization in defense. And what you have seen is they've had that platform, they built on defense, and then you get players like a Rose Lavelle back, and that helps with creation. It really does.
It's change any team.
Yeah, for real.
I think the measure of control that I see from Gotham is really special. Even as an incredibly biased person as I am, have to set that out. But when I watch Gotham games, I see a measure of control that I don't see in a lot of other teams in the league. They keep possession. The only real chances they give up are a mistake in possession or something special from the other team. And the way that they move the ball around is so organized. There's still that creativity in the build-up, but like you mentioned, Ella Stevens is such an incredible technical player. Even in the weeks before this, she goes to training every day. She came back and she was like, Ella Stevens' finishing is ridiculous. She scores some beautiful goals in training, and she's so happy to see her score those goals in games because she has that ability. She's a fantastic technical ability. Her movement in the area is really, really good. Her movement off the ball, like her touch and everything, how she sets up to score is fantastic. She's just done really, really well. Her confidence is high. She fits in well with this team, and I think she's one of those players that's taken her chance because there's been a lot of injuries in this Gotham team, and so there's opportunities for players players to step up, like a Mandy Freeman, who has been absolutely
fantastic.
Shout out Mandy Freeman.
She's been so good.
She is so calm in that right back spot. She's so disciplined. She's got technical ability for days. She can play the long ball. She can play the crosses like she did for that goal. So I think there's a lot of these players who accepted the challenge of seeing a lot of international players come into this team and said, I'm still good enough to play. And then we're seeing that for this, and it can only be beneficial in the long run, I think.
We have to give some love to Yasmin Ryan, too, because she has been so good for Gotham last year and this year. We just haven't seen goals from her, but to go dribble on her own, take players 1v1 in the middle of the park, which she's a forward. Yeah, she can play midfield, but I think we've mostly seen her as a forward, especially from coming from Portland. So to see her be in the middle of the park and take a shot where she's finishing, I'm so hyped for her, and I hope we see more of that in the future because she's in such dangerous positions on the field often, and I think she can get a lot of goals this season.
Gotham, the reigning champs, stock continuing to rise, and we've got a lot more to recap, so let's just keep this train moving along.
This isn't just a Gotham chat?
It's not just the Gotham segment.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I know that you two, we could do a whole chat on Gotham, but we've got to head out to Kansas City, where the Current, who are first place, they're pretty good too, if I do say so. First place in the NWSL, they have gotten a draw from the weekend against the Chicago Red Stars. And not to sound alarm bells, because Kansas City's still undefeated on the season. Important note to add there. But this is the second of their last 3 home games in which they've dropped points in then getting a draw in those games. So maybe a little bit nitpicky, but Chicago, they did show a great amount of effort to fight back and steal that late equalizer, that point on the road. Darian, are there alarm bells for Kansas City a little bit if they're dropping points at home? Again, they're undefeated. They haven't lost on the season and they're in first place. So.
The alarm bells are that they give up a lot of goals on set pieces. Every team, if you're scouting Kansas City, you know, where they're lacking is mental lapses, organization on set pieces. And till the last minute, I mean, NWSL, this was a crazy weekend for like late goals and late drama, of course, but there's always opportunity where they're going to have holes that you can take advantage of. So it's not any new alarm bells. I think we saw this from game 1 against Portland. I mean, 5-4. That was the craziest opening to an NWSL season ever. I'm here for it. Look at all the fans at the stadium now. But that's something that we haven't seen get better game to game. But if they keep scoring goals where, you know what, at least they're coming away with a point, they're still top of the table, still undefeated, it's working out for them. But knowing Vlatko Antonovsky and having him as a coach, he is a defensive, tactical, stay in mentally, stay on your mark type of coach. So I know that they're working on this week to week, but I think teams come in with confidence that, hey, if we get some set pieces, we can put one away. And shout out to Sam Stopp coming back from her debut of the national team, coming off of a loss and then coming in and scoring late in the game. It was a good win for Chicago, in my opinion, even though it was a tie.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't know if it's necessarily alarm bell category, but it is definitely an area of improvement because they had so many chances. They need to improve in front of goal, Kansas City, because they create so many chances and they have incredible attacking players, but they're soft on set pieces. And teams like Chicago know if they get 1 or 2 of these opportunities, and they will get a couple opportunities against this Kansas City team because they do play so open, set pieces are a worry for Vlatko, but the fact that they're creating this many chances only can be a positive.
I mean, Temwa Chawinga had 8 shots, 4 on target. I mean, just her alone, she could have 4 goals from this match.
8th goal of the season. Temwa has made her presence known in the NWSL, and dang, is she fun to watch. Hey, another game that maybe wasn't as exciting to watch was the Cascadia rivalry. It ended in a scoreless draw between Portland and Seattle, but either way, when you look at this game, it was an important result for a Seattle team that needed to stop the bleeding. They needed to stop the bleeding on the defensive side of things. It was a 0-0 win for Seattle. Well, why do you feel that way, Darian?
They've just been struggling, conceding goals, and I think it's been this. They have a really good team. They have great players, especially defensively, but I think other teams have just been exposing them in the gaps on transitions. I don't think we've seen enough come from their attack. You know, a lot of their players from last year, well, let's go with Pino and Rose Lavelle, were players that you build your attack around. You kind of let them drive how you're going to send balls in, how you're going to go through the middle of the park. I think a lot of the pressure is on Jess Fishlock to do a lot of it, but you need to have a style of play that suits, I think, Heidema and Balser up top, and that is sending balls in, taking advantage of their aerial presence, because both of these players, are so good in the air. but the timing of it isn't right. It's not fully coming together. The crosses are a little too early. The run's not there. You can see the ideas that they have, but it's just not enough, and it's a little bit too predictable at this point. But as we talked about in the opening segment, I do think with the new ownership and them acquiring players and, having a little bit more solidity is going to help them get to the style of play where they're going to be a top-tier team, because this isn't a bad team. They're just in a bad run right now.
But they also, Seattle didn't get the best Portland team who were without Sophia Smith, Olivia Moultrie, and Sam Coffey. Seattle need to start to turn things around, but a draw,
it's a step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction.
It's the first time they've kept a clean sheet in 4 matches, so positives. Literally got to take the small
it's a win. Yeah,
small wins. Small wins are important. Hey, you know what team that feels that really deep right now? The Utah Royals, who got a late winner on the road against Bay FC. Kate Del Fava, the hero in this game, off of a set piece in the dying minutes. And just look at the reaction from this team. Everybody sprinting to the touchline. Kate Del Fava ran right to her head coach, Amy Rodriguez, former player in her first year at the helm of Utah. And it has been a really, really difficult start to the season. Just their second win of the season and first since March 22nd. That's just a hard grind to be in, Darian, when you are not getting that joy and that confidence boost from Dubs.
It's difficult to remain positive, to remain confident when you're in that big of a losing streak. I've sadly been in that position in my playing career once or twice. But you know what? When you get these not small wins, this is a big win for Utah, but you get a win, it's great motivation, especially we're at the middle of the season for them to, having a step in the right direction. I think, if I'm Utah and I'm one of the players, I'm thinking we need to capitalize on set pieces. You know what? We're not playing the way that we want to at this point. I don't think it's going to happen by the end of the season. I think, we change our strategy. Let's focus on, kind of how Chicago does. Those transition moments, those set pieces where they take advantage of teams. But I'm happy for Kate Del Fava. I played with her at Kansas City. It was cute to see her dad's tweet.
Kate Del Fava?
Del Fava.
Kate
Del Fava. Yeah.
Aaron West,
this was really cute.
Quick-witted.
Love that.
But I'm glad that they got this win. I think as soon as they brought in Bedford and Vasconcelos, the game changed. Having some veteran leadership in there that can hold possession a little bit better up top, that, got to observe what was happening in the first half, come and bring their own flair, break them down a little bit. The momentum started to change in Utah's favor, and they ultimately got the win. But Bay should have done a lot better. They had their chances in the first half and didn't put them away.
Especially at home, too. Bay's going to walk away feeling really disappointed with how that match ended, especially that they gave it up on a set piece. But either way, congrats in order for Utah, as that was, you could see it on the faces and the reactions. That one felt really good. And we've got so much more to get to on Attacking Third today. Sandra Herrera is going to join us later on in the show. We are talking U.S. Women's National Team. Stick around. More A3 coming your way next. Summer of women's soccer is heating up with the NWSL in full swing and the Olympics and Summer Cup on the horizon. We will be bringing you all of the highlights and analysis with Attacking Third on Mondays and Thursdays. We will also be live on YouTube after every U.S. Women's National Team match in the lead up to and during the Olympics, providing instant reactions and a full match breakdown. CBS Sports is also the home of the Summer Cup, where NWSL and Liga MX sides will face off starting July 19th. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax. The Olympics are fast approaching. We are so excited, but Emma Hayes, no breaks after her time at Chelsea. She's coming in and she's got a tough job ahead of her, because you can only take 18 players that'll make the final roster going to the Olympics.
Ridiculous.
Which means that there are inevitably going to be some snubs. And so our team here at Attacking Third got to thinking, okay, who would our 18 be that are going to the Olympics? So here's a look at the players that the A3 talent agreed on, starting with the goalkeepers. Alyssa Nair, Casey Murphy. Okay, done and dusted, very good, all in agreement there. Moving on to the defenders. Naomi Girma, Tierna Davidson, Jenna Neiswanger, Emily Fox, and Emily Sonnet were all players on the back line that the A3 talent thought would make the final 18. In the midfield, Lindsay Horan, Sam Coffey, Rose Lavelle, and Katarina Macario made the cut for all of the A3 talent. And on the front line, Jaden Shaw, Sophia Smith, Trinity Rodman, Crystal Dunn, and Mallory Swanson. But you might notice one name that is missing, and that is Alex Morgan, one of the legends of the U.S. Women's National Team, one of the veteran leaders as well. Her name was a big one up for debate amongst the A3 talent. And for our own Lisa Carlin, who's not here with us today, she weighed in on why Alex Morgan would not make her final 18. Take a listen.
I do not have Alex Morgan as one of the 18 players rostered for the United States women's national team going to Paris. Instead, I have Alex Morgan as an alternate. Alex Morgan is an out-and-out 9. She wants to get in behind. She's quick with a step, and she can play direct. However, that's not how U.S. women's national team new coach Emma Hayes wants to rely on playing. Hayes values versatile players and versatility in position, style, and tactics. And Morgan, although incredibly decorated, 2 World Cups, a gold medal, over 220 caps, Morgan is one-dimensional, and Hayes needs players that can be adaptable and versatile in play. Morgan is also one of the most capped players that is still in the mix of this roster that everyone is talking about. And Morgan taking one of those 18 roster spots means coming at the expense of a younger player that can use this Olympic tournament to help build upon what the U.S. is looking to go towards. Now, it's no doubt Alex Morgan is absolutely a veteran, and her leadership is invaluable to this group. So Alex Morgan should be an alternate for the Olympics. That way, in team talks and in meetings and in training, Morgan is there to benefit the group as a whole.
All right. So there's Lisa's take on this, and I know that we've got some strong feelings here on the desk. And I don't really know how to use this thing, but I've got it just in the event that I need it. Law school was really never
like a practice gavel.
I'm afraid I'm going to break this.
It's a glass table.
All right, we'll see if this is plexiglass or what. Darian, I want to hear your case. Did you have Alex Morgan making your 18? And if not, who did you
I did not have Alex Morgan in my 18, although Alex Morgan is an incredible player. She's done so many amazing things for women's soccer in general, especially in the U.S., for the U.S. women's national team and the NWSL. But I just think with Emma Hayes and seeing her style of play and the fact that the roster is only 18, the players she's brought in are very versatile in how many positions they can play. If you get a knock going into this Olympics or the first game or in a training session leading into the Olympics, you need players that can fill into multiple gaps. For me, ultimately, that's the reason why I don't have Alex Morgan in my 18. I did bring her as an alternate because I think, along with what Lisa said, that leadership, the camaraderie, the advice, the presence that she can bring is massive. And knowing that, you know what, hey, something may happen where we need another player, she's the first one that I would bring into that squad. But I think this is the perfect opportunity as the Olympics to let young players have this massive experience under their belt going into all of the tournaments that they're going to be a part of moving forward for U.S. soccer.
All right, Erin, what do you think? I know our own Brianna Scurry, who was on the desk yesterday, making her A3 debut, by the way, on this fine NWSL weekend that we had her on for. She was a big proponent of the leadership that Alex Morgan brings. And look, odds will just tell us, like, did you have Alex Morgan on your roster? Okay, there you go. Figured you would. So make your case.
And so I don't disagree with anything that's been said, and kind of for the same reasons I did bring her. I think because we have so many different versatile forwards, I don't think we have a pure, true number 9 outside of Alex Morgan. Sophia Smith is a 9, but she's not like the purest number 9 that we have. I think that her leadership, Alex Morgan, the fact that she's been here so many times, so many of these players look up to her. I think that leadership, having it in the squad and not just as an alternate, she probably would be coming off the bench, but to have her on the bench in those moments, to have that experience, there's not a ton of leadership in this 18 so far. We've obviously got a lot of experience in Alyssa Nair, Sonnet, Dunn, Horan, but I think in terms of pure leadership, Alex Morgan is one of those players that's been there and done it for so long. And the fact that she's done it in the big moments and the fact that she is the purest 9 we have, I think that we still have space for young players, and we're going to go through our squad. And I think that there is that mix, but I still think she is the biggest probably leader that we have in this team right now, and I would love to see her in this team.
Darian, do you think it's important to have a leader on each line of the team like that?
I do think it's important to have a leader on each line, but when you're a forward and you're not in great form, it's really hard to be the confident leader of the team, especially on the pitch when you know what, maybe the style or how fast the game is right now, where the tactics you're just not fully adjusted to, where they don't suit you, what you bring as a player. That just happens on every team that you're on. Sometimes the tactics the coach brings in aren't for you. And I think we've seen that a little bit with Alex Morgan. Just look at Chelsea with Emma Hayes. Every player is so fluid, can adapt and switch to different positions. I think Alex Morgan can do it maybe just a little bit more time. Yes, the leadership is key, but I think Crystal Dunn brings that. I think Haran brings that. Sonnet, Alyssa Nair. I don't know if it's necessary to bring it to this tournament where you could give a younger player that opportunity to take that leadership role and be that number 9 that we need.
All right. Some great cases made. I don't even know if I need this because it's been such healthy, friendly debate.
Is she on your list?
She's on my list. I'm taking her for all of the same reasons, and especially because of what she brings stylistically, that true target number 9.
She brings something different, for sure. It's another layer.
It's two sides of the same coin. It's because you're not bringing her because she doesn't necessarily fit the style. I am bringing her because she doesn't necessarily.
I don't think, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, I'm happy if she goes,
just turn the gavel flat and hit it on the side.
Honestly. Bryce Curry
sports, folks.
Bryce Curry had good points with, she attracts so many players. She gets a lot of penalties. She frees up spaces for other players as well. I totally understand that. I just think that those are specific moments in a game. That's not for 90 minutes of every game of who they're going to go up against.
Absolutely. Well, the front line is not the only place that goals can come from. The midfield is a crucial part of this U.S. Women's National Team, and it's also a position group that did have some players up for debate. And 2 of the young players on this U.S. Women's National Team were the ones that came into question: Corbin Albert and Lily Johannes. And Darian, I'm going to start with you. Who of these players, because I know you and Aaron both had them making it, but one was an alternate and one was not. So who made it and who was an alternate of these 2 players for you?
Albert made it on my squad for the fact that she's been with the national team longer. She's declared with the national team. I think her defensive presence is great. You have Coffey, who has an injury right now. For me, Coffey has the 6th position on lock. She's 100%, she has it. But with her having an injury, who can you bring in that has that same defensive presence, that can cover as much ground, that can also play really good balls forward? I think Johannes has that over Albert. I think her attack, her vision is a little bit better than Albert's of what we've been able to see. But we know Albert is solid defensively. We know she can cover a lot. We know she can win those aerial duels. We didn't get to see that from Johannes, and just the fact that Albert has had more time, especially chemistry on the field with her teammates, is key for me in bringing her over Johannes. But Johannes is an alternate.
But Johannes
in my book.
So slick,
She's
Aaron.
So swaggy.
That ball that she played.
I've been thinking about that pass a lot. And
so gorgeous.
So, again, you're nitpicking 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
These are 2 young players who I think have a bright future with the national team. Obviously, we can't skip over the off-field issues with Corbin Albert, but I'm not really considering that. I'm purely footballing terms. I think that, like you said, Sam Coffey is our number 6. And I look at the rest of the squad and say, who would be the backup if you're not going to bring Corbin Albert? Because I want to bring Lily Johannes because I think she is a special talent that I want in this national team immediately. I want her cap tied. I think that we have a handful of players in our entire national team pool that can make the passes that she makes, that has that kind of vision. I think she is a talent that needs to be nurtured. I think that Corbin Albert as an alternate is a solid move because it gets her in the squad. If Sam Coffey gets an injury, she can step in. I think that Emily Sonnet as the backup for the 6 is kind of my view. You can use Crystal Dunn in midfield. A lot of these players that I want in the team are very, very versatile, like a Sonnet, like a Dunn. But Lily Johannes, to me, has such a special talent. I don't think she should stay home. An alternate would be okay, but I want her in the mix.
How much would you utilize her, though?
I think that she would be.
Or is it just to get the experience?
It's mainly for the experience and the fact that I think she could come in a match and do something special. A little bit different view from a Corbin Albert. I think she can turn a match on her head, Lily Johannes. I think Corbin Albert is the safe option.
She is. But in my opinion as well, is this the best opportunity to bring Johannes in? How young she is, brand new to the squad, this really quick tournament. Are we setting her up for most confidence, for the most success for her to grow into this national team, jumping into the Olympics right now?
You know what
I don't know.
You know what I think is so interesting? The reasons that you picked Alex Morgan are the reasons why Darian wouldn't bring Lily Johannes because, I mean, you've also got players like Jaden Shaw, Katerina Macario. They can make those passes too, and they've shown that, and they've had more time with this U.S. women's national team. But on the same side of that, Aaron, you gotta lock up Lily Johannes because I'm with you. I think she's one of the bright spots of the future of the U.S. women's national team.
100%.
She's a player that they cannot lose. So, going to be fun.
Yeah. Is she going? Aly, is she going?
Is she in your team?
No, I think I'm going to go with Corbin Albert for the same reasons and because of the skill sets of the players that are already have had experience with the U.S. Women's National Team and have that chemistry. And I think
it's such an interesting mix because it's like just a bunch of Venn diagrams.
Yeah,
who
100%.
can cover the gaps?
When you only have 18, I do think having players that provide different looks for different situations that might come about in the competition is very key. And I think that's what's going to be the ultimate decider for Emma Hayes when she's having to make those
100%.
really tough decisions, because these are very tough decisions and it's a good problem for the U.S. to have, which brings us to the alternates, the players that made the alternate list or were up for debate on the alternate list. And a big one that was up for debate was Casey Kruger. Why do you think she should or shouldn't be on the alternate list, Darian?
Oh, she's not on my alternate list. She's making the team. That's who I had her in my 18 because I think she brings that experience in the back line. We see the U.S. going to this modified 3-back position where left back Jenna Nighswonger goes really high. You need Kruger there who has the speed. She has the experience. She's a great 1v1 defender. She can play balls forward. I think that you would be remiss if you didn't bring her because she can also play left back. She can play center back. She can play right back. She's very versatile. The same thing we've been talking about with Crystal Dunn, where she can play everywhere in the back line. You have to bring her. And I think she's been so solid for them. When Fox has had a lot of minutes with Arsenal and been tired coming to games, I think Kruger's fit in seamlessly, whether she's going high or staying in that 3-back, that, as Courtney, our producer, likes to call it, spiritual 3-back that the U.S. plays. She fits right in, so I think you have to bring her.
I need that on a T-shirt, by the way.
Spiritual 3-back.
For me, she has to be at the very least an alternate because of all the reasons you said. It was difficult to figure out who would come out of the back line, also because I listed Crystal as a defender. She's everything. She is our everything. But but Casey Kruger, she has to be on the plane. Whether or not she's in the full squad or alternate, that's nitpicking, but 100% has to be in the squad for me.
Okay, there you have it. Court dismissed, everybody. There's some good cases that were made today. And you know who else is always down to make a good case? Sandra Herrera. She's going to join us next, and we're going to start by getting her take on the 18 and what her opinion is of the job that we just did right here. Stay tuned. More Attacking Third coming your way next. Hey everybody, welcome back to Attacking Third. Wrapping up the show with who else but our own Sandra Herrera, who joins us now. Sandra, you were waiting patiently in the wings as we all debated our 18 that would be going to the Olympics for the United States. So I'm just going to open the floor for you. What was your reaction to the friendly debate that you just heard there in that last segment?
Incredible. Look, was everybody part of the debate team in high school? Because that's what it was giving. I loved every second of it. I loved the background of it as well. But I think I also really like the fact that there were ultimately the same arguments for multiple players there, but just in different directions. So that was good stuff too. I think mostly we're all in agreement about Casey Kruger, but look, sometimes I'm a little bit of a maverick on this show. And for me, when I'm looking at my alternates, I've got Albert and Johannes as alternates in terms of my kind of projection for the Olympics. In agreement on Nair and Murphy as the 1-2 combo for goalkeepers. Sana, Girma, Davidson, Nighswonger, Fox, and Kruger are locks for me for defenders. And as far as the midfield, I've got Horan, Lavelle, Coffey, Shaw, and Macario, and forward Smith, Swanson, Rodman, Morgan, and Dunn. Some of y'all just don't believe in the Coca-Cola Olympic commercials marketing that Alex Morgan is doing. Look, I'm not saying I'm swayed by advertisements, but I think that's pretty telling.
I did peep that.
That is incredible.
No,
it's coming up on the algorithms for sure. Everybody could take a look at him and see. Not that you should go off of marketing dollars for building a roster by any means, but I think for all the arguments that have been stated for kind of that pure 9, for all the leadership, you're going to have Morgan as part of that roster, not just as an alternate in this case. And I think you got to listen a little bit to what Emma Hayes has said out of those friendlies to kind of officially kickstart her era, has referred to Alex Morgan as the utmost professional and someone who really cares. These are things that she said about Morgan kind of exiting those friendlies. And for me, that kind of leans a little bit more towards kind of naming her on a roster versus just kind of bringing her along for the sake of an alternate. And usually alternates are kind of the opportunity for maybe younger or newer faces in the mix. Johannes Albert and Campbell are on there, but I've also got Sam Staub as an alternate as well in this Olympic Games. I think there's a little bit of timing issue, I think, when we're looking at Johannes and Staub in terms of what they're producing in their time with the national team, but also with their club teams as well. But they're going to have to name a roster very, very quickly, and I just don't know that there's been enough time for those particular players.
Sandra's hot on the trail of the big Coca-Cola conspiracy.
You're not wrong. I did peep that too. I did. But Sandra, let's switch over to Seattle Reign sale. I played for the Reign, and it's hard to not have the continuity of ownership. And I think we also saw that with your Chicago Red Stars this last year. They had a really tough season. But now that they've had that ownership, they've had the solid investment, they've been able to afford and bring in players that are going to be there for a long time. Do you think that this is what the Reign needed to maybe turn their season around a little bit and acquire some players that are going to help them solidify their new identity?
Yeah, 100%, Darren. I think you hit it on the head, and I think you can attest to that as well. With your experience in this league, it's a bit of a tragedy, I think, when it comes to talking about women's soccer in general in this country, right? Those kind of generational growing pains that come with, sustainability. And whether it's been full-on ownership changes or just general off-the-pitch issues that players maybe kind of find themselves having to navigate and manage and play through a long grinding season, that's so tough. And I think we're seeing just another example of that with Seattle Reign in 2024. And I think when we go through the past, you can pluck out those examples. You mentioning Chicago Red Stars just last season, I think, is a good example of that as well. I think maybe that 2021 Spirit squad, even though they rode a lot of those off-field issues all the way to a championship, they were very vocal about how that was very much a grind. Or what we saw from the former Sky Blue, now Gotham FC players kind of building things. And if you build it, it will grow and look really, really good, I think, if you stick with it. So I think there's a lot of examples to go through. But I think Laura Harvey kind of saying a very short reaction to this, saying it's official. Can't wait for the new chapter of this club to begin. I think even though it's such a simple framing of things, it's probably the best way to put, because when you're navigating something like this, it could feel so much like an unknown, like a bit of a black hole sometimes. You don't know where you're going to go. Maybe sometimes your hands feel a little bit tied behind your back in terms of being able to make moves for your teams. That absolutely played a role for Harvey, I'm sure, and the front office in terms of that free agency period in the offseason in which they wanted to try to maybe make some moves, but couldn't really be given the support or the direction. Now that's going to change for this team moving forward. Are they going to be active in that upcoming transfer window now that there's this official sale that's gone through? If anything, maybe it'll just provide a bit of relief, I think, for this club and the team to go ahead and kind of just be able to focus on soccer altogether and just maybe put together a good second half of the season.
All right, now I don't know about you guys, but I love a good Sandra Herrera list. I have been told that you got some power rankings for us, Sandra. Let's hear it. I want to see this.
Yeah, look, we've been shaking them up. Things have changed for sure since I last put these out. Let's just put it lightly. But I got to shout out Gotham in particular, because I had them going into the season at number 3, and guess what? They're making me look like a little bit of a genius because I've got them back at number 3 at the midway point. But look, Orlando Pride, KC Current, you got to give them the respect for what they've been putting together so far. I've got them 1 and 2, and they've definitely jumped up a bit from week 1 for sure. Obviously, I think Spirit is the biggest one. I wasn't too sure where they were going with some of the moves that they made, particularly on draft day. And we, should have said, look, Croy Bethune is a very special talent. That was something that we were saying going into that draft class. I had her on one of my mock drafts as number 1 at one point. But who would have thought that this entire rookie class has been delivering for the Spirit moving forward? They're absolutely providing week in, week out. So shout out to them for making the jump in the power rankings. But Gotham, I think, is the one to keep an eye on, especially with their game in front of them against San Diego Wave. I'm going to give the advantage to Gotham going into that game.
Ooh. What about who do you give the advantage to? Angel City Racing Louisville. Who's your pick there?
Tough. tough because you know what? We're heading this midway point of the season, like we're all talking about, and this is where you really got to turn it on. I don't know if Angel City is going to be that team to show it to us. I think maybe Racing Louisville is a little bit streaky at time, but they're showing us that they can finally string together some wins, even though they're coming off of a loss. I think they're going to want to bounce back themselves. I think they'll get the win against Angel City.
All right, Sandra Herrera, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. Always great having you on. Thanks for welcoming me on the show, everybody. A3 baby, let's go. Yeah. Sandra, great stuff. This has been a lot of fun. We will catch up again real soon. Darian, Aaron.
This was a fun show.
This was fun. Hey, Nux. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. No, this has been a good time. Yeah. And we've got some midweek NWSL action that we'll be covering as Sandra, you're going to be live on Wednesday, right, with Christine Cupo?
You know it.
Oh, yeah.
Here to provide for the people as always.
Live on YouTube on Wednesday, recapping all the action, getting you set for the games coming up on Wednesday. And then we will be back in studio on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, because she's still having a good time. I can Irish dance, fun fact. So we're going to do that when Lisa gets back. This has been A3 presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. See you Thursday.